Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. Wayne Dyer's Top 10 Principles of Manifestation, How to Live Your Dream Life Today. So, I previously shot a series called words are hard sometimes. Dr. Wayne Dyer's 101 Ways to Transform Your Life. So that was an interesting series where I went bit by bit through his philosophy, his 101 principles. And now we're going over a different piece of his material about how to manifest what you want in your life. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more in depth because he goes a lot more in depth into each of these topics. He covers them each in about something like 10 minutes or so. So these are going to be a little longer than just analyzing his 30-second kind of things. But they're also going to be a little bit deeper and a little more useful. And they're really focused on the manifestation process instead of kind of a little bit everywhere where we were in the last kind of video. To summarize what we really covered in the last 101 videos, we really got to this idea of don't blame other people, be less attached to your ego, that kind of stuff, and kind of focus more on your subconscious mind, on being free, on freeing yourself from all these kind of things that really drag us down in a negative way. Keep the things that make you successful and get rid of the things that, hinder your progress, usually being the ego and our attachments and stuff like that. Which really dives into this first principle. And this first principle, he says, is have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing, okay? So the idea of this one is that everybody has a mind. Most people use the opposite of this principle. They usually have a mind that is very closed to new ideas, and they're like attached to everything. Okay, so I'm gonna cover each part of that and a little bit about what he says about it. So let's kind of just dive into it. Let's have some fun with it. So, a mind that is open to everything is not saying, that anything I have learned is incorrect, that I have, screwed up, I have done this, etc. It's saying that we can be open to say that anything is possible. Now, previously discussed, when we decide that nothing is possible, or when we decide that something is impossible, basically, we're really narrowing what we can do. When we say that flight is possible in the year 1900, it is not a very popular belief. We have this whole, if you could fly, then, God would have given us wings kind of thing. If man was meant to fly, the Lord would have given us wings, whatever. Stuff like that. There was that kind of saying. But, the Wright brothers there in 1903 proved flight was possible. Bernoulli, mathematically proved this principle of lift based on that. So when you have a mind that is open to that being possible, then really it becomes possible for it actually to be done. And if it's impossible, you make progress on showing how it can eventually be done, okay? It may be impossible with that kind of technology they had today. Like there's the example of the guy who invented Velcro. He had this idea of these hooks that you could have in a material that would hook to these other things and be Velcro, that they would act like burrs do on his dog, how his dog, walking out of the woods got covered in burrs. And the guy's like, we could use this technology. And the thing was, with the technology they had that day, it was impossible because there was no way to make it cheap enough for all those hooks to work. But then they realized, I believe it's when you expose nylon under infrared light, it would naturally curve into these hook shapes. And so once he had the idea that this was possible, and then combine it with that knowledge of what we could do with the nylon, and once exposed to infrared, he was able to create Velcro. And that's how to Think and Grow Rich, anyway. One of the later editions, but still, it's a pretty useful story. There are many other cases of things that have been proved possible when they are thought to be impossible. And time again, it's really that kind of belief that when we have this belief that anything is possible, it really opens us up to doing things that were once impossible. I'll cover one more example here, being Edison and the light bulb. Now, you may know that Edison tried many times, like 5,000 times, and was unsuccessful in creating the light bulb. But later he read an article about, I believe it was on charcoal. I could be off on that one. But basically, this kind of charcoal being created by burning underground for hundreds and thousands of years, to my knowledge. I'm no expert on charcoal, so anybody correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But that this was kind of happening, and he thought, okay, well, I need something to burn for a long time in this light bulb. Everything keeps burning out in like 8 seconds, and I need something to last 8 hours here, days, all that kind of stuff. How can I get something to last that long? And so he figured out, wait, if this thing burns underground with oxygen, then there we go. Oxygen, if we take out some of the oxygen, because it's low oxygen underground, if you take out some of that extra oxygen out of our light bulb here, then we could add our highest melting point substance known to man, tungsten, and we could have this be our resistor. Anywho, just to skip all the physics there, this ended up working for over 8 hours, being the technology he really needed for the light bulb. Now, that's a lot of examples on the open to everything component. And I think another part of it that's really important to cover in this video, because Dr. Wayne Dyer really dives into the idea as well that so many people close their minds off to what is possible in terms of other people's beliefs. Like, they don't want to accept other people's beliefs being the way they are. So he has this example of people saying, well, you must run into all these people with strange beliefs. And instead, he talks to them about the placebo effect and how belief is extremely powerful. So if people's delusional beliefs can help them, then often that can be useful, and we shouldn't judge other people. As we already know, we shouldn't judge other people, because as soon as we judge other people, then we are conditioning our subconscious mind to judge us and to make us feel bad, okay? And we really don't want that. And on top of that, when we judge other people, we're not as nice to them. When we're not as nice to other people aren't as nice to us. Combine that with the subconscious mind, you're just screwing yourself all the way to hell on that one with how much judgment can really hurt you. So he's saying, don't judge other people's beliefs, just kind of let that go and have a mind that's open and say, whenever you're dealing with a frustrating person, and let's admit it, we deal with frustrating people like every single day. At least if you're me, I mean, I run into frustrating people all the time. And I feel like this technique's very difficult to apply, but once you start to do it, and I've really started to do this a little bit more, I find that it can be useful for reducing it. Now, I'm no expert. I'm not as good as Dr. Wayne Dyer at this kind of stuff, in his later life at least. But I will say that I've gotten pretty good at it overall, that when you're dealing with somebody, instead of saying, oh, I disagree with that, you're wrong here, this thing doesn't work there, instead say, that's an interesting point of view. Like, I never considered that. Say something along those lines. That's the example he gives in the video. But I recommend something like that. I find that that can work pretty well. When you start to agree with people, they will open up to what they could be feeling insecure about or being wrong about. But as soon as you start attacking them, then they will just shut down and defend. And most people are pretty good at defending overall. So you really make no progress with people if you don't really open yourself to their ideas to some degree. That's basically the idea. Be open to everything and attached to nothing. Now, attachment is also not super well understood. Most people think that attachment is good, that attachment is like caring. So he's got a part in here about how you should become detached from your spouse, your lovers, your whoever, all those kind of people who are really close to you in your life romantically. And a lot of people think, no, I got to be attached to them. Like, what are you saying? You're saying I shouldn't care about my wife? I shouldn't care about my husband? I shouldn't care about my partner? Whatever, people saying I shouldn't care about those people, and he's saying no. Okay, see, attachment is the idea that we're deluding ourselves into the belief that as soon as we don't have that person in our life and they're not doing what we expect them to do and want them to do, that suddenly we're going to become immobilized or we're going to suffer a great loss. I think of it like this. I think attachment is like tying yourself to a harness, basically, that is just 500 feet in the air, okay? And so you're just deciding to climb up 500 feet in the air and attach yourself to this really loose harness that at some point is going to break. So you're going to fall down 500 feet and crash into the ground. And you're going to, suffer a great fall from that. You're going to really get hurt by that. And so emotionally, it really just kills you like that when you create attachment, when you're saying, I have to have this person. I really need this. I have to have it. That kind of stuff. And as we know, when it comes to heartbreak, when you do lose somebody you really care about, it feels for days and a week or whatever like you can't live without them. But soon enough, you'll figure out there are other people, everything will work out in the long run, and soon enough, you don't really care. I mean, you might always care to some degree for years and years or something if you don't really have a positive mental attitude and, the right way of moving on. But if you do have that, you can get over it in a pretty short period of time because attachment is just plain a lie, okay? Attachment is not caring, it is putting yourself in a position where you can't let those people be themselves. You're saying, you have to be this way, otherwise I can't be happy. So what he's saying is you want to open your minds to different people's ideas, that kind of thing from the first part there. But then let go on some of this other stuff, okay? When it comes to other people, allow them to be themselves. Don't be attached to them having to do this thing this one way, having to fulfill this perfect role for you. Because you don't own other people, you can't make them do what you want them to. So let go of that with these people who are super close to you. Kind of just release some of that attachment. I shot a specific video on attachment, so check that out if you're interested on just the specifics of how to do that. But when you become detached, you're not disinterested. You still really care about these people, but you can love them even more because you can love them for who they are, not who you want them to be. As soon as you want them to be a certain way, you're putting your happiness on the line for a basically unlikely outcome. It's unlikely the person will be your like perfect image of who they should be. And so you're setting yourself up for failure and feeling bad. But if you allow them to be themselves and you're okay with like being happy with them being themselves, then you can be happy all the time. And if that person fades out of your life, then you can be happy with the time you had with them and be happy to move on and see what else life has to offer. That's basically the idea of being detached, like not being attached to what you do and who's in your life and all that kind of stuff. Instead, being free flowing, knowing that you're going to have a good future no matter what. Okay, when you really have that belief in your core, then it's okay to let some of those things go. You're not as attached to them. And a lot of times things grow a lot stronger instead of weaker when you loosen the attachments. It's like attachments are like choking all the things in your life. They're like tying nooses around them and really just tying them to you and saying you have to be, have to be, have to be. But as soon as you loosen those harnesses, suddenly everything's okay. Suddenly the things in your life are really a lot stronger instead of weaker. And if they eventually do break off, if one breaks off or etc., then there are always other things in your life that will be stronger, that will be better, all that kind of stuff. So have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing. That's principle 1 of Dr. Wayne Dyer's top 10 ways to manifest anything in your life that you want. That's about it for part 1. I will see you guys next time with part 2. So, as always, stay tuned and let's talk about this stuff because I love it. I know you guys love it too. So, yeah, stay tuned for the next part. See ya.